Okay, we are in Rocky Mountain National Park. We made it to, I've been saying Denver, but really we're going to Estes Park is where the wedding is. We are here and it's time to go to a wedding. So we got into this campground yesterday and there are only 2 loops open. Matilda is loving Rocky Mountain National Park. There are only 2 loops open, and so we went through the first loop and it had a lot of people in it, mostly tent campers, a few RVs and campers. Really nice loop, really great views, but kind of full. And with the dogs, we like to stay in quieter spots because we worry that they're going to disturb people. And so we came over here. This is Loop E, and we are literally the only ones in it. Van update. This was our first night camping without using shore power, and it was cold, but it was fine in the van. The dogs did great, and we had sleeping bags, so we were fine and got up and made coffee, and yeah, still better than being in a tent, particularly when it's 30 degrees out. So this is super cool. We're about a half an hour outside of Estes Park, Colorado, and a lot of the campgrounds, which are open, have minimal services. A lot of them don't have water. And we were just looking around and we found this little town right off the main road, which is pretty quiet. And they have water for donation from a natural spring, which I think is super cool. So donated a couple bucks and picked up a couple gallons and we're good to go. So we woke up this morning in that really cute little Forest Service campsite. Check this out. We are once again in another really beautiful national forest campsite. This is pretty nice. Check it out. And then there's the van. Look up behind me how nice that is. And there's our site. Super nice. And decided to just have coffee and hit the road and maybe find breakfast or stop and make breakfast. And we ended up in Leadville, Colorado, and I've never been here before. And it's just the coolest town. So tons of history, awesome mountain biking stores, fly fishing, home to some big trucks, homes to amazing races, super cool bars and saloons. Man, if it wasn't landlocked, I would think about living here. Unfortunately though, it's early on a Tuesday morning. Most of the town is closed, so we're gonna keep heading south. So we got into Colorado, headed to Rocky Mountain National Park, where we camped for the night, and then the next day drove into Estes Park where the wedding was, and did a whole bunch of wedding related stuff. We moved into an Airbnb. We were staying in an Airbnb for the wedding, and went to the wedding, which was amazing. And then woke up the next morning and had to go to a brunch. Woke up the next morning, went to a brunch with all the parents, and I felt a little hungover. And I didn't drink that much, but I did drink things that I don't normally drink. I had a glass of sangria, I had a glass of wine, and I had a little bit of whiskey that I normally drink. So I was like, you know what, I'll just take it easy for the day and hydrate and things like that. And it took me a ridiculously long time to realize that I was not actually hungover. So one of the things that I teach is wilderness medicine, and within wilderness medicine, one of the topics that I teach is acute mountain sickness, and that's what was going on. So it's a little upsetting, as it's something that I teach, that I am still prone to not realizing that it's going on with me, and there's a really important lesson in that. The other part of it is I apparently am a wimp when it comes to altitude. Every time I come to Colorado to visit my son for a couple of hours or maybe a day, I feel like poo. I feel nauseous, a little headache, a little tired. And it takes me a ridiculously long time to realize that it's the altitude. I live at sea level. That is where the bulk of my outdoor stuff is done, is at sea level. I'm primarily a kayaker. And so my body does not like going to altitude. And it normally takes a couple days and then I feel better. The difference is that now we are in Black Canyon of the Gunnison in westernish Colorado. And I've been above 9,000 feet for about 5 days, and I still pretty much feel like poo. So what does acute mountain sickness look like? The signs and symptoms are, well, really, acute mountain sickness is defined as recent altitude gain and a headache. If you've got those two things, you've got AMS, and a lot of people don't realize it. But you could see other things, which are generally what I see. I don't generally get the headache, but I get the nausea, fatigue, and I don't know if you can tell by the way I'm talking, a little bit of shortness of breath. So in my first aid kit, I have an SpO2 monitor. My SpO2 is okay. It's in the mid 90s to low 90s, depending. But that's what AMS looks like. Headache, nausea, fatigue. So how do you deal with acute mountain sickness? Time is the biggest. Your body needs time to acclimate, but keep yourself hydrated. Even if it doesn't really fix the acute mountain sickness, the air at altitude is drier, so it's good to try and stay hydrated. And then light exercise. So we went for a hike, and there really are not better places to do a hike than here. How cool is that? But those signs and symptoms of nausea, fatigue, headache, all look like, guess what? A hangover. So this is the end of episode 2 of the road trip. Episode 3, we are now headed south. We are in Black Canyon, and we're headed south towards Durango and eventually down towards Santa Fe and Taos. See you on the road.